Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us for Political Pulse. I'm Randy Aldridge, and I'm here with Emma Kate Souter and Thomas Kinchlow, as usual. Thanks for being here. We are very excited. It's finally spring. It feels like spring. Everything's blooming. It's warmer finally. But also, legislators are back from their spring break, and they came back with a big surprise from the North Carolina Medical Society. We have a bill over its first hurdle on prior authorization. So I know you two have worked on this a whole lot. I want to start with you, Emma Kate. Let's just go with the basics. Let's just tell everybody what prior auth is and how it's affecting providers.
Absolutely. Prior auth is a process that delays patient care. It is where a physician or a healthcare provider has to send their plan of treatment or medication for approval to a healthcare insurance provider prior to being able to treat that patient. And sometimes it can take multiple days, weeks, that kind of thing.
So the burden is on a lot of people here. It's on the provider. It is on the patient. There's a whole lot on both sides that's not generally good, right?
Absolutely. You know, we're hearing physicians and other clinicians having to hire full-time administrative staff to handle these prior authorizations. And then because the physician or provider has to be involved, they're also experiencing burnout because they have to spend more of their time doing the administrative work than the clinical work.
And it's not good for the patient either.
No.
Because they're waiting.
Right. Exactly. And we're seeing 91% of clinicians report that their patients are seeing adverse outcomes clinically from waiting on prior authorization.
91%. That is almost every single physician. That is an astonishing number. Just it really is. Thomas, let's talk about what this bill that the Medical Society has put together, how it will help solve some of these problems. And I know it's a big bill, so we're both kind of using our notes here to make sure we get it right this first time we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's about 10 pages.
Yeah.
So I can't say quite everything that's in it.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm just gonna look at my notes to highlight some of the big points.
Good.
The first one is that insurers will be required to talk with a clinician before refusing to pay for prescribed medical care if medical necessity is being questioned.
Which is something they don't necessarily have to do right now.
I think that's correct, yes. And then time limits would be set for reviews based on medical care level. So there's a time limit for non-urgent care, urgent care, and then emergency care would not require prior authorization. And then timeframes would also be provided to the insurers for making these decisions. The physicians that are issuing the approvals or denials of prior authorization must be licensed to practice in North Carolina. They must be actively practicing, and they must be a same or similar specialty to the physician that is making the request.
And I'm going to stop you right there with that one, because I don't think many people know, or many people, regular people like me, know that that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, that is currently not required to happen.
Yeah.
That there's no requirement right now for even a physician to make the prior authorization approval or denial.
And I think the average person would be surprised to know that. I think that's one of those things that the average patient doesn't realize, that this prior auth does not necessarily come from the same type of medical field.
No, I agree. And then the last one is that there are some continuity of care requirements. So previous prior authorizations must be honored for a certain amount of time. So if you're a clinician and you've had a certain, say 80% of your prior authorizations approved, then for the, I believe it's the next year in the bill, you are exempt from the prior authorization process.
Which is just a time saver for everybody.
It is.
And a show of good faith. If you've done it all these times, you know what you're doing.
That's correct.
I know there's a lot more that we're going to be talking about much over the next several weeks. The deadline for becoming a co-sponsor from one of our lawmakers has passed, but we do still need our members, Emma Kate, to talk to these legislators and tell them how important this issue is, and to let their voice be heard. That's something we say around here all the time. Let your voice be heard. Tell them how they can do that.
Absolutely. So we sent out a action alert earlier this week, what you mentioned on the sponsorship piece, but now we really just need our members to reach out to their legislator and let them know that we would love their support on this bill generally, and we'd love to see it pass the House. You know, we've got the crossover deadline coming up, which is where bills have to cross from the House to the Senate in May, and we really need to get this bill through prior to that.
And May is coming up very quickly, so in case you're interested, if you go to our website, ncmedsoc.org, one of our banners right at the top of the website has all the links on this. You'll see it. It's titled Prior Authorization. It's got where you can find more information and how you can go very quickly and easily to talk to your legislator, right? All right, thank you both. We're going to be learning much more about this and talking about it a lot more, I think, over the next few weeks. Thank you all for joining us for this week's Political Pulse. Again, I'm Randy Aldridge, and we'll see you next time.